Good morning, Spiritual Life Center. Welcome to the SLC Sunday Experience. We're so glad you're with us today. You are in the right place at the right time. We have Redalia Kilson here today in the house, along with Laree, whose birthday is today. Thank you for being with us on your birthday, Laree.
Of course. Love you guys.
Our soul is welcome here.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome, and your soul is welcome. All our souls are welcome here, and I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. I'm getting the message. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome.
Well, good morning, Reverend Deborah, and everyone here today that's come out in this liquid sunshine.
Good morning, Reverend James. And we greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred. and in the warm and loving energy of this community Spiritual Life Center. Spiritual Life Center honors all people worshiping in temples, mosques, churches, stone circles, and the beautiful temples of nature, because we know there is no space that God does not grace. If you're with us for the very first time today, either online or here in person, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. Every single one of us is here by divine appointment. And we're very, very grateful to be able to be together today. And we are even more grateful when you silence your electronic devices. And please refrain from flash photography during the service.
Each year, between the anniversaries of the deaths of Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., it is a season for nonviolence. And we have a reading each week from one of our members or friends of Spiritual Life Center to bring forth one of the principles that these gentlemen supported in their iconic work. So this week we have Sandy Wilson, who's going to come forward to read a principle from the Season for Nonviolence. So welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Live. Today, I listen without defending. The spiritual masters, each in their own way, taught and demonstrated that practicing non-resistance places one in a position of great power. In listening without defending, we learn all we need to know in every situation and circumstance. Today, I move through the day with an open mind and a loving heart. I listen objectively to hear the spoken and unspoken messages. I let go of self and of judging or criticizing others for their position. This frees me to accept all information and to put it to right use, allowing myself and those around me to continually improve and grow in greatness. In the practice of non-resistance lies my strength. Today, I listen without defending. Oh, I didn't like this one. And I had to do some digging and I had to do some thinking about it. And this is what I came up with. You may be right. Can I say or think those words and mean them? They represent to me the art of non-resistance. There is no place for ego in the practice of this art. Ego is the great separator, the basis of righteous indignation, the stuff of small-mindedness. If I am able to be in a state of non-resistance, I don't have to be hurt by anyone else's words or actions. They simply are what they are. I was initially quite put off by this paragraph. I equated the idea of non-resistance, of listening without defending, as not taking action, excuse me, or speaking up against a wrong. We're reminded every week that we must take action, so what is the right thing to do? I had to do some digging to learn about just what is meant by non-resistance. I read about how Jesus said, "You have learned how it was said, you must love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say this to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Paul, in his letter to the Romans, wrote, "Never repay evil with evil, but let everyone see that you are interested only in the highest ideals." In her book, What Are You?, Unity author Imelda Shanklin wrote, "Pray thy will be done. In so praying, you ask the non-resistance of God to motivate you. Your prayer will be granted." I always thought thy will be done was a cop-out. Yes, in time, all will be well. All is well, all is well. I mean, have you looked around? Homelessness is no longer hidden. The least fortunate abound. War continues its horrible path of death and destruction. Education is lacking. Values are skewed. Slavery still exists in many forms. Desperation is palpable. Is all really well? I can't know the Dharma or the life path of other people. I can't know the wiser hows. Resistance to natural laws causes pain through their natural consequences. Resistance allows, without judgment, or hoping for them to be different. Non-resistance is an active choice to live in unity, to forgive and not hold a grudge, to discuss rather than argue, to make peace, not war, to seek reconciliation rather than division. It is being. What I can do is pray, thy will be done, what is mine to do? Then listen, meditate, explore the thoughts that arise. Listen without defending. Ego involvement is resistance. Practice non-resistance to the thoughts that arise in meditation. Then take action. It is the way of peace.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for that sharing, and a very important principle that is as good as we practice it. One of the things we do each week is fulfill our purpose and mission at Spiritual Life Center. And this is noted in our mission statement. I invite you to join in as we affirm it together. To transform lives as we love, serve, and remember. And we do that as we carry out these 5 basic universal principles that we believe in. Again, let's say them together. God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God, and we must take action.
Excuse me. And we have a WOW coming up this week, and it's going to be me offering a conversation about from psychism to mysticism. And while everyone has an intuition, this faculty is more developed in some people, and they're sometimes called psychics. Join me for a conversation about the different modes of intuition, such as clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and some other abilities. This evening will help you explore ways to better use your own abilities, understand the difference between psychism and mystical connection, and explain the ethics of using deep intuition, and we're going to do all that in an hour.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk fast. Bring your fast listening ears. Soup is at 6, and the program starts at 7.
Okay, I see something magnificent unfolding. We know one of the most important things we do here at Spiritual Life Center is practice prayer. And we have a prayer chaplain program that really goes deep into this and provides that consciousness, holds the high watch for our community. And so I'm going to invite Reverend Christine Boughton and Rose Lonsway to come forward to share about being involved in our chaplaincy program. So welcome, Reverend Christine and Rose.
Well, good morning. As Reverend James just said, I'm Reverend Christine.
And I'm Rose. Christine and I are the co-coordinators of the SLC Prayer Chaplain Program, and we're here to invite you to come join us.
Yes, so as an SLC prayer chaplain, we learn how to practice affirmative prayer. When life gets, shall we say, lifey, we may feel a lack of, a fear of lack, limitation, worry, or any other human condition. And so then we connect with our oneness, our divine identity. We affirm that God is everywhere present, and we hold space for one another to remember this higher truth. We connect and align with spiritual power that is everywhere present in all things at all times. Chaplains love, serve, and remember, and we facilitate remembering who we truly are in the midst of life circumstances, so that we may live a transformed life.
I have been a chaplain for almost a year, and what I enjoy about it the most is being able to connect with others on a heart level. If you see us out in the courtyard, we are along the far wall nearest the office doors. We're wearing the white stoles. Come and pray with us. We love to pray with you and hold your prayer concerns and send them out to the best and highest good.
So, if you have ever felt called or interested in becoming a chaplain, please join us at 10:15 between services next Sunday, March 26th, for an informal question and answering gathering in the chapel, which is also across the way in the office building on the right.
If you're not able to join us that day, please see Christine or myself in the courtyard. And we would love to answer your questions about the chaplain program. We hope to see many of you next Sunday, the 26th at 10:15 in the chapel. Thanks and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, Christmas. Oh my gosh. Easter, honest, it's Easter.
You threw me off there for a moment there. You had me, I was nervous.
It scared me too. Okay, let's start that over. Believe it or not, Easter is just around the corner, and to prepare for our spiritual resurrection, we invite you to join us to our two special Holy Week services. On Wednesday, April 5th, we offer On Holy Ground, which is our Easter communion, and then on April 7th, our Good Friday service. Join us for the last 7 words of Jesus. These services focus on the metaphysical meaning of Holy Week, and they are meditative, uplifting, and prepare us for the wonderful experience of Easter. And of course, Larry will be bringing some beautiful music along with it. So we hope to see you on both of those. That's right. And David and Mary are going to be here for the Good Friday as well. So join us for both of these special services in preparation for Easter Sunday.
Well, one of the things I believe that helps a person grow and evolve spiritually is to be of sacred service. And you have an opportunity, if this is something that that's calling to you, to consider being on our board of trustees. We have a couple of vacancies as a result of folks terming out of our board of trustees. And so if you're hearing the call and want to know more about what it's like to be on the board, what the board is doing, the paradigms that we're moving into as we move into another way of evolving our spiritual community, we're going to have an information session today at 12:30 p.m. after our second service. And if you're not able to attend in person, you can go on Zoom, and it's an opportunity for us to share a little bit about what the opportunity presents, to see if that's something that matches your desire or your calling, and consider applying to our board. Also, the information about the meeting is on our website, so if you want to attend online, you can do that. So if you're considering it, if it runs through your mind, maybe I should look at it, we invite you to do so and get more information that'll help you make an informed decision about being on our board of trustees. These are exciting times we're in, and believe me, spiritual work and principles are so needed in our world, and I believe that we're providing the most important work that we can do in today's world. So consider it. One of the things that we do at Spiritual Life Center is our mission is to help transform lives and make a positive difference in our world. And periodically, we have a member of our community to come forward to share their story about how their life has been transformed and the impact the principles that we teach and the work that they do is done in their life. So this morning, I'm going to ask Kim McLaughlin to come forward. She's been on our board of trustees, involved a lot on a number of our committees. So welcome, Kim. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me. You're making me think about my history with Unity. So it's kind of been a nice process.
Well, we all have a journey that kind of got us into this. What was maybe the challenge or the obstacle or that you ran into or experienced that started your process?
Yeah. So it's been really great actually thinking about this. It was over 30 years ago. And I had this relationship that I had been in since I was a teenager, and it was in the process of ending. And it was really difficult when you have a relationship for a very long time. You get kind of combined with somebody, and that was ending, and I had a hard time with it.
So how did that impact you? What influence did it have on your life?
Well, I really felt alone, confused, and didn't know what to do with my life. Once again, if you have your life wrapped around somebody and now what in the heck am I going to do with myself now that it's over with? So confused and alone was really where I was.
Confused and alone. I think some folks can relate to that at some points in their life. So did you kind of meander through this experience for a while? What was your experience once you kind of hit that crossroad?
Well, it's interesting because the starting point of me coming to Unity was actually through 12-step programs. And I found so many people that I loved and cared about in 12 steps. I learned about the 12 steps in relationship to myself. But there's this one step that says, came to believe in a power greater than yourself. Well, that was a sticking point for me because I didn't know what that had meant because I had never been to church before that. I had no real, faith that I knew of. So it was really, the meandering was through 12 steps and kind of wondering, what in the heck else is there out there for me?
So, what was it that turned you around, that kind of got you out of the wilderness into a more positive experience?
I don't remember how it was, but I remember coming to my first day at Unity, and it was Unity in Sacramento. And anybody out there who had ever been to that church, it's the church that had the tree in the sanctuary. And I came in there, and the minister said, you know, you're here to find God and friends, and not necessarily in that order. And I go, oh, you got me. Because I really wanted friends who had that spiritual connection, and I knew that there was something greater for me. And stepping in that door, I knew that I had found a place I could really be at home in.
So as you went on your journey, were there some practices or that you engaged in that were very helpful for you?
Yeah, there were, I think of like 3 pieces of Unity that really have been profound for me. One is I really stuck my whole body in learning. I went to as many classes as I could. I prayed all the time. I was in classes all the time. I even went to Unity Village. I did all those week-long trainings that we used to have. I stepped into understanding the philosophy. The second thing I remember is coming in and hearing the music, and that it was songs that I had heard on the radio, and it was reinterpreted for me. So it wasn't the, the kind of those hymns that I think often are in some churches. It was real music that I go, that's a spiritual song? Oh my God. Well, and it was crazy to go, that song actually is a spiritual song. I like that. The last thing that I really stepped into was volunteering. I just kept saying, hi, I'm Kim, how can I be of service? Hi, I'm Kim, how can I be of service? And really every time since then, I step into service. And that has been some of the biggest growth experiences for me, is really volunteering, getting to know people, and being of service to the community.
So as you're going through all this process, is there anything in particular you discovered about yourself that was revealed?
Well, I don't know okay, so one of the things I learned was that what we practice here when we're feeling good and spiritual, I actually need to practice when I'm not feeling good and spiritual. You know, that thing of God is everywhere present. Well, if God is everywhere present when things are good, well, if things are not so good, maybe God is everywhere present in that, and we call it good, and we call it in divine order.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's been a big learning for me.
So where are you today in your life and as you're going through this experience?
I find that it's a process for me of the kind of ever deepening of it's like that, what do they call it? Those onion layers. You just kind of go deeper and deeper. I'm never there. I'm getting there. I think I'll be done when I'm done on this earth, but it's the process of continuing to study and to grow and to be more part of the divine presence on earth.
Well, thank you, Kim, for sharing, and hopefully someone will hear something that will help them in their journey, whether they're here or online today or tomorrow, next year. You never know how you'll impact someone, so thank you for your presence today.
Thank you very much.
And we just want to remind you, excuse me, there are many activities that foster transformation here at Spiritual Life Center. So check out our weekly small groups and other offerings, and to discover all the happenings at SLC, you can go to our website. You can also peruse the bulletin board in the courtyard if you're here in person, and then go to the hub to sign up for any event. And of course, the ladies at the hub can tell you all kinds of interesting things about SLC. So check it out.
And what did you say? And other things. Well, if you want to know about other things or just meet another person, we invite you to greet a friend or a neighbor or a stranger in a manner that feels comfortable for you, and just say, you are marvelous and glad you are here.
song. Miss Dahlia is going to lead it off for us here.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know that the grace of God was sufficient and that the love of God was enough. But now I can say when I'm discouraged or needing a little help to make it through the day, you've got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit, only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. Yeah. My heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit, and I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for no more struggle, no more strife. I see the light. I am free in the Spirit, and I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for
All right, let's take a nice deep breath together. And as we enter into the contemplative portion of our service, we're going to speak out loud together our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet.
I am one with God. I know the truth. I am one with creation and one with you. There is no separation between all that is. I am one. Joy and peace in my heart. Always I feel joy and peace in my mind.
Joy and peace in my heart, always, I feel. I invite you now to take a deep breath. And as you exhale, allow your shoulders to drop. Release tension. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hands. Relax your eyelids. And for your next 3 breaths, simply watch your body breathe. And notice how you relax with each exhalation. And now relax your thoughts into the center of your chest and bring your focus to your spiritual heart center. As you breathe, allow yourself to drift up and up into a daydream garden. In front of you stands a tall green hedge that spans as far as you can see in both directions. And looking more closely, you see an opening. And so you step through onto a hedge-lined path covered in polished stones of every color. And you realize you have stepped into a sort of a maze. It's not what you were expecting, but you move forward with full confidence, slowly following your path. Shortly, you take a wrong turn into a dead end. And turning back, you look right and left, trying to figure out the right direction. Perhaps you jump up to trying to see over the hedge. Or maybe you push the branches apart to see if you can just sneak through to the other side. Gaining no success there, you stop and take a breath and become quiet. And this is when you realize this is all you need to do, is stop and ask for guidance. So you become still. You watch. You listen. The colored stones beneath your feet begin to glow, colors dancing along the path in a new direction. And so you follow that glowing light. As you approach the next junction, the light fades. And so you stop. You watch. You listen. And the stones light up, taking you the direction you need to go. And so you realize it is only when you stop, watch, and listen that the guidance comes. You follow this pattern, and at each juncture, until you finally step into the center. The center of this maze is filled with a rainbow of light, swirling and dancing, inviting you in. And as you step in, the light enters your body, merging with every atom, every cell, until you too become sparkling, dancing light. In this state, you know everything that you need to know. All answers are here now. And you know that all that is necessary is to stop, watch, listen. Now focus on your heart's desire and say, show me the place. Show me the way. And then watch and listen in the silence. your light body begins to coalesce into your dream body. The hedge parts, opening a path straight through and across the maze back into your physical world. And as you settle into your physical body, please receive this blessing. Oh, my beloved, as you say your prayer, show me the way, show me the place, you step fully into co-creation. When you are open to divine direction, the plans you make will come together in ways that you could never imagine. As you accept guidance and love, you also exude guidance and love, a true gift. And that is why you are here, to be a divine co-creator. Remember this, always.
There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. When sorrow seems to surround you, when suffering weighs heavy on your head, know that tomorrow brings wholeness and healing. God knows your name, just believe what God said. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. When all you've done seems you're from moving on, and fear takes its place, and hope within your heart, know that forgiveness brings wholeness and healing. God knows your name, just believe what was said. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. I once was lost and God has found me. I once was bound but I'm set free. My heart is open to the guidance. The splendor of spirit is now I see. I was lost but God has found me. I was lost, bound, I've been set free. My heart is open to the guidance. The splendor of spirit is now I see. Now I see. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair. There is beauty for ashes, strength for fear, gladness for mourning, and peace for despair.
Dahlia,
There is beauty for ashes,
where's her name's on the top of it.
strength for fear, gladness for mourning, peace for despair, peace for despair, peace for despair, peace for despair.
Got a new dynamic duo here this morning, Dahlia and Laree. Thank you so much. Yes. There was a young man, they called him Inky. Inky Johnson. And Inky was sharing, in a speech that he gives, that he was in the 9th grade. And he is growing up, and he faced a lot of challenges in his life. He lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and he had 14 brothers and sisters, and his mom worked at Wendy's and sort of to support all of that family. And he said there were some times I didn't know where our next meal was going to come from. And he said he went to a really tough high school. And he said when he was in the 9th grade going there, the very first day, he was met by, I guess, the campus police. And people had to go through metal detectors, and he had to hold his arms up and, get checked to see if he had any weapons on him. And he was looking up into the ceiling, and he was being searched from head to toe. And as he was coming back up, the officer asked him, well, what's your plan, little man? First day of school. And he said, well, I'm going to go to college one day. I'm going to play Division I football on a scholarship. I see that as my vision. I'm setting that as my intention. And interestingly, the officer said to him, you'll probably end up in cell block D1 somewhere. Not a very enlightening response. Because he asked him, well, didn't you have 2 uncles who came to the same school? And he said, yes. And weren't they just great athletes, and they talked about him like they talk about you and how good they were in all their sports? And he said, yes, sir. And aren't they serving time now in this federal prison just 10 minutes from where we are right now? And he said, yes. And he said, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And so you'll probably end up on D1 block like them. And Inky said that later on that, the guard said that to him, not because he was trying to put him down or discourage him. He wanted to see how badly he wanted this in his life. He wanted to see what was he willing to fight for. You see, Inky was determined, even at that young age, that he wanted to be a model of possibilities for all the other people in his community and how their life could turn out great. So he worked really, really hard in practicing his trade as a football player, and he became one of the best in the state. And he did end up getting a scholarship to the prestigious Division I school. And of course, the very first person he went to go see after he got notice of this was the officer at the school. He had to let him know. He said, check this out. And so anyway, he was in his senior year, and he's projected to be drafted in the first round. His life was about to be turned around. All his dreams were going to be coming true. And he was going to be able to be a beacon of light for all those that grew up around him that saw little hope in their circumstances. And all he needed to do was complete that one more season on the team. And all of his visions, all of his intentions were to come true. But it was not to be. Because what happened in the second game of the season, while he was making a tackle, he fell to the ground. They said a shot went through his entire building, an electrical current, and he blacked out. And when he came to, they were telling him to get up, and he couldn't get up, and he couldn't feel anything in his body. He was rushed to an emergency room in the hospital. Well, to make a long story short, after the surgery, he discovered that he lost use of all of his left arm. And just like that, the direction that he set for his dreams were dashed. But his mother said something to him. He said, one bad chapter in life does not define your life. So he listened to her, and he finished college. He got his master's degree, became a very successful role model for others. He grew up to become, a successful motivational speaker, and he's doing that today. And he's helping other people who want to have hope in their life. But he had one particular intention, and suddenly it got redirected. And sometimes as I hear and we say sometimes it's God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And we talk about that being expanding good that's in our life. And this is what Spirit wants for us. It is kind of like a pack. And we also say from time to time, God is good and all the time God is good. But, as I was listening with Kim and Sandy, and sometimes we may question that when things come up. In fact, there's some people who are detractors. They may, criticize those individuals who believe in the absolute good of God. And they say that, those things are far-fetched, and anyone who has a belief in the goodness of God and follow that belief are nothing more than following a cult. That's what they call us from time to time. But by the way, this is say what a cult is. A cult is simply a group of people who refuse to do their own spiritual work, and they just follow the leader and just listen to what somebody else says. So there's a lot of cultishness going on in our world today, but I digress. But when anyone proclaims that God is good, and people say those people just don't know. They don't know what they're talking about. They think they can be just happy all the time and joyous all the time, but that's not real life. But here's the thing. We know that life doesn't always go as planned. There are ups and downs in our human experience, and life doesn't always go our way. And so there's constant movement, there's nothing static, and we know this. So when we say that God is good, it does not mean that life is good when the facts of life are not to our liking. We're saying that God is good because this presence, this power that we know that's beyond words is changeless, and there's nothing can alter that. And our job, of course, is to get in tune with that. Because we're all offsprings of this one presence, this one power, this one reality. Meaning there's nothing in us that can prevent us from living the life that God has ordained for us, wherever that may be. But if we do not believe that, then that means that we sometimes will get caught up in a false belief about life and create our own law that has nothing to do with the law of God, nothing to do with the law of the universe, or what I like to call the force. We may say things that, I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough, or I don't have enough education, or things don't go my way. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. So we may be saying all manner of things in our own minds that, I'm too tall, too short, too dark, too light, too fat, too skinny, don't have enough money, got too much money. That's impossible. Let me drop that one back. But whatever your too is, if we're using it as an impediment, then we're stopping the fullness of God expressing through us. And we're blocking the offer that Spirit has for us, that's giving us that kingdom. So we have to dissolve that. Dissolve that into the nothingness for which it has come, never to exist again. Change how we see it. We always have a choice where we're going to direct our beliefs. We always have a choice where we're going to direct our faith energy. So when you hear we talk about today that we direct and God corrects, we hear the words from the Hebrew Bible in the book of Isaiah that says, I go before you to make the crooked places straight, and the glory of God shall be revealed to you. And I believe it suggests that no matter what we may be going through, whatever we may be growing through in our life, if we make the effort to move in the direction of the God presence, the principles that we know, then sometimes there's a correction that comes along the way. There's an intervention that takes place. The direction we want to choose is a direction that's in alignment with the inspired spiritual ideas of the force, the infinite presence. In other words, to say in an unlimited way how you and I will reveal the love. How are we going to reveal the peace that we talked about earlier in that season for nonviolence reading, the harmony, the creativity, the goodwill, the compassion, the abundance, the affluence and prosperity, the absolute beauty of this universe. In Genesis, it says something to the effect, let there be, and it said, let there be light. And let there be so many other things in the creation stories. And we want to have that same perspective without limiting our belief to a specific way on how it will show up. And I think this is what Inky did. He set a direction. He had in his mind what he wanted to do, but he got thrown off that particular pathway. But the Spirit of the living God made the crooked way straight for him to fulfill his intention in another way. And I believe that our job is to choose a direction. We make that direction. We direct a certain way and know that this presence that is beyond our human understanding will make the correction along the way. So I want to look at a couple of ways that we can help align ourselves with this. And of course, the first one, which is very obvious, is we just have to make a decision to choose where we're going to go. You know, we go back to that scripture and it says, in the beginning it was God, and it goes back to state that God said, let there be light. Let there be. It was really a statement that we're going to let this be. And we, being made in the image and likeness of this presence, have the same capacity to say to ourselves and allow it for this goodness to express through us by setting our direction. But sometimes we're unwilling, saying, I don't know what to do with my life. But imagine, if you will, if this mind of God was like a human being, which is not, were to say, let there be, but let me see what's going to happen here. Let me see what's going to happen. I'm not quite sure what's going on right now. No, in the mind of God, there was a definite spiritual, whole soul idea. And there was no letting me see what is going to happen. There was an idea that already formed in this infinite presence, and it's waiting to capture our attention in a unique way. So I say he, she, it, God, the force, has named whatever we're setting out in our life as good. And we're here to participate in this good that God has already named as for our life. But by first choosing a direction, we reveal a form of love. We reveal a form of peace, a real form of creativity. For Inky, it was like behind his intention really was a desire to be successful, to give to others, to be a model for other people who did not know him, people who came from where he came from. And he was able to achieve something for himself. So he did choose a direction. And he thought he knew exactly how it was going to show up, but it came out differently, and the universe provided him a support to carry out his intention in a different way. So the first thing we have to do is choose a direction. And then the Spirit of the living God will add a correction and will make the crooked way straight. That's what's needed. I remember there was a couple of folks who were looking to buy a business years ago, and they were wondering about, where the resources were going to come from. How are they going to get the people to run it and all of that decision, all that stuff. And then I realized first thing they had to do was make a decision. They had to set a direction. And then everything began to fall into place. And some things didn't show up exactly like they planned it or how they thought it was going to be. And so a correction had to be made along the way, but they were successful. But our task, I think, is to set the direction first and foremost, even if we don't know exactly what it should be, and know that this presence will give us an increase along the way. And then I think the second thing we have to do is avail ourselves of the presence by being open and receptive. I'm talking about a strong intention, a strong direction, loosely held. We got to have a strong intention, but hold them loosely simply means that we're sticking a hard direction where we want to go, but we believe that we need to remain humble and mature enough to change our opinion when contrary evidence shows up or when the situation around us begins to change. You hear the master teachers say that we must be as a child to enter this kingdom, to enter this ever-expanding good. In other words, within us, there must be a degree of flexibility, being in the present moment, in the here and the now, without necessarily worrying about tomorrow. We must be as a child, flexible, available, receptive, open to the fullness that Spirit has in store for us so it can be expressed through us. You know, there was a research project, I guess a longitude study about a group of individuals, and they lived into their 90s and even into their 100s. And they were all living beautiful, vital, giving life. And in this study, they wanted to know what was the common denominator of all of these people. And one of the research questions that they asked them was, did you have a happy childhood? So they asked this question of one 99-year-old. That person was still young and spry and vigorous, my role model. And he continued to travel around the world and wonderful things that he did in his life. And he wrote as his answer to that question, did you have a happy childhood? And he said, so far, so good. So far, so good. So far, so good that somewhere along the line, he did not give up his sense of that childlike nature, that being in the present moment, that being vital and going for it kind of consciousness. He said, so far, so good. Deep within us, I think there's a resonance there, a happy childhood. And perhaps, we might say to ourselves, you may not know what you're talking about. If you only knew about my childhood, I didn't have one, or it was terrible. And there's a negative litany of things that I could talk about in my childhood. There was a young woman who had been carrying around a belief that her childhood was the worst thing that ever happened to her. She talked about how her parents criticized her and validated her, and they were so strict and made her go to bed early, wouldn't let her stay up late and watch the movies or go to parties like the rest of her friends. She never got a chance to travel and have any fun, and she felt that she was always in the no-fun zone. She had everything else in her life, so I guess you would say she had first world problems. But, everybody's problems is theirs in their own mind, so it was a serious thing. But then she said one day she ran across a video, and it talked about how she could change her story. How could change what she was telling herself. And she could create a now empowering story and reinforce that story through the use of affirmations and visualizations and just trying different ways of describing her experience. At first, she was very pessimistic and skeptical and decided to give it a try anyway. And she wrote down these words. My childhood was full of joy and adventure. And she put that affirmation on her refrigerator door, and she put it on her bathroom mirror and the dashboard of her car. At first, she said, this is silly. How could I say something like this that in my mind cannot be true at all? But she continued to repeat it, affirm it. Then all of a sudden, something began to happen. She began to remember from her childhood things that she had forgotten about. She remembered how much she had loved to read and how her parents would always take her to the library on the weekends. She remembered how she would spend hours in her backyard imagining herself on wild adventures while she played with her stuffed animals. And she continued to focus on the positive aspects of her childhood, and she began to feel lighter. She began to feel happier. It seemed like a burden began to be lifted from her. And so she no longer felt like a victim of her past. And she started to see possibilities of a bright future. She began to even laugh at the absurdity of her old story and how she had convinced herself that she had the worst childhood ever. And she realized that was nothing more than self-inflicted nonsense. That's what sin is, in my view, self-inflicted nonsense. Now, whenever she sees her friends, nowadays, and they start talking about back in the day and reminiscing about the old days, she just joins on in the laughter and realizes that her life is better now than ever. And she actually runs workshops and seminars about joy and happiness. And it all started because she started saying, I had a great childhood filled with adventure. And began to affirm a different perspective. Because the reality is, we look at history in our life, most of the time it's inaccurate. You know, if two people are at the same place at the same time trying to describe the same thing, you would think they were two different universes. So most of the time, we're just making stuff up. We're just coming from the school of MSU, making stuff up. So whether or not we need to say, oh, my childhood was filled with joy and adventure, or whether we have to say or get into the vibration of so far, so good, it does not matter how we get there. So long as we're able and aware to have the capacity to go outside of our circumstances, step outside of them, and say boldly, let there be life in my life. Let there be light. Let there be joy. Let there be harmony. And the direction that I choose is to bear witness to God's glory for me. And we want to say, this is the direction that I'm doing. I may not know where the resources are going to come from. I don't know where the support's going to come from. I don't know. But one thing we can say for sure, that with God, all things are possible. I think that Inky story reminds us that regardless of how many hurts or pains we've gone through, regardless of the times maybe of our visions and goals and intentions may have been crushed to the earth, regardless of what has happened in our history, regardless of how we've come to be here, there is something about all of us that is calling to continue to set directions in our life, knowing that the great law of life, the force, the universe will add the correction along the way. It will refine us. It is saying, I am with you always. I'm always going to make you a blessing. We just have to go for it. And we'll stand on the tiptoe of being, looking over the promised land of our life and see that all indeed is well. Regardless of whatever has happened, we choose the direction today. And Spirit adds the correction. We'll be making a choice to cash in on that promissory note to accept what I call God's outrageous offer to give us unlimited good. So you know you have to direct. And Spirit will make the correction. It will make the crooked places straight. We just have to hold that vision and possibility. This is what we want from God for each and every one of us. We direct, God corrects. Because I like to say, God loves us too much to leave us alone. Peace and blessings to you. Okay. Well, next week I'll be talking about divine words matter. And we'll have Reverend Janae will be the meditator, and Roach will be here with the Soul Light Connection. So we invite you to be part of that experience. At this time, what do we do? I'll make sure I'm in the right, because we changed the order of things a little bit. All right, I'm looking at Deborah to say, make sure we're good. We're going to go ahead and chaplains? Look at the next page. Oh, the next page. Oh. I think it's the offertory. Newcomers. That's what it was. Chaplains and newcomers. So first of all, chaplains. We heard from the chaplains earlier. We'll invite them to stand. They're wearing the white stoles. They're available to pray with you.
They are available, and then here's the...
Okay, thanks. See,
Takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. They're available. But we're also going to acknowledge anyone here for the very first time. Any first timers here this morning? Okay, I always say, if you're a little better today than you were. Oh, yes, keep your hand. Yeah, thank you. She was just tentatively raising her hand. So we're giving you a card that you can fill out. Okay, well, thank you for being here today. And if you want, you can fill out the card and turn that in. We got a couple of folks over there, and we'll keep you informed as to what's going on. We appreciate your presence. We affirm the magnificence that you are, and we see great things happening to you and for you in your life. So thank you for your presence and your consciousness that you bring. now at this time. We invite those who are online to support Spiritual Life Center with your gift or offering. And you can do so by texting SLC Love to 44321. That's SLC Love to 44321. Or you can go to our website, slcworld.org, and give in other ways, including by mail. Just click the Donate tab, and it'll give you ways and instructions that you can support Spiritual Life Center so we can spread this consciousness to as many people as possible. And if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, just like us, give a little comment, share it with someone else, because the more we spread it around, the more people will know about the possibilities of their own life, how they can be transformed from where they are to where they can be. And with that, I invite those who are present who wish to support our community with your gift or offering. Symbolically raise your visions or your funds to heavens, and if you're giving in other ways, know that you're in a flow that says whatever you give out does indeed come back. And with that awareness, let's affirm our offertory blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Headed in the right direction, I can see the light of day. I have love as my protection. There's an angel showing me the way. Been reaching for love all my life.
I couldn't find it, always one step behind it.
Now I know it was mine all the time. Finally, I am
Headed in the right direction.
I can see the light of day. I've got love as my protection. There's an angel for me to be afraid. I spend so much time in my head.
I couldn't see
In the
what was
clouds.
happening to me.
Now that I got my feet on the ground, now I know that I am
Headed in the right direction.
I can see the light of day. I got faith and intuition telling me that it will be okay. Down the path that I walk, there's a light.
Somebody told me
Can you
that I
see
look like I'm
it?
glowing.
Yeah. Light has dried all the tears from my eyes. Now finally I am
Right direction.
I can see the light of day.
Now
Yeah.
I found my pearl of wisdom.
Telling me there's no need to be afraid.
Right direction.
I can see the light of day. Yeah,
Headed in the right direction.
There's an angel showing me the way.
Headed in the right direction.
I can see it. I can see it.
Headed in the right direction.
There's the light, yeah, there's the light, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Heading in the right direction. Thank you. But we take this time to give thanks and appreciation for those who have supported Spiritual Life Center with their gift and their offering. Recognizing that not only will the receivers be benefited, that includes our community, so that we can create a space for those who wish to grow, develop, and unfold and transform their lives from where they are to where they can be. But also blesses the giver as well, because we know on a spiritual level that whatever we give out sticks with us in some way, shape, or form. So we give out the good, we give out the abundance, we give out the prosperity and the joy, and as we do, we retain so much more in our life. We also bless those who have left their prayers in the prayer box, whether today or throughout the week, recognizing that we all have challenges in our life that come up from time to time. Our best intentions sometimes are derailed. Unexpectancies happen. Setbacks take place. But we know that there's always a divine answer to whatever we are facing, because the Spirit of God knows the answer even before we know what the prayer need is. As that statement goes, before they call, I will always have answered you. And so the answer is there. And so we raise ourselves to be one with the answer and see it revealed through and as us in our life and in our world. So no matter what we're facing, individually or collectively, there's always a spiritual presence that has a divine solution. We're grateful for it and accept it. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. So with that, let us join in as we affirm our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. And with that, let's join in and sing our peace song. Remember, set your direction.
One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
River, it likes to flow. Ivy, it likes to climb. River, it likes to feel its wings against the sky. Possum, it likes to run. Ivy, it likes to climb. the bird in the tree and the bumblebee want freedom in the autumn or summertime. Ever since the day when the world was an onion, yeah, oh yeah, it was natural for the spirit to soar and play the way that God wanted it, free as the sun is free. That's how it's got to be. Whatever is right for the bumblebee and the river, and the eagle is right for me. Ever since the day when the world was an onion, a tiny little onion, yeah, it was natural for the spirit to soar and play the way that God wanted it, free as the sun is free. Oh yes it is, that's how it's got to be. Whoever is right for the bumblebee and the river, and the eagle is right for me. Ever since the day when the world was a tiny little onion, yeah, it was natural for the spirit to soar and play. Ooh, the way that God wanted it, free as the sun is free. That's how it's got to be. Whatever is right for the bumblebee and the river, and the eagle is right for me. Ever since the day when the world was a tiny little onion, yeah, it was natural for the spirit to soar and play the way that God wanted it, free as the sun is free. That's how it's got to be. Whatever is right for the bumblebee